You said this term a couple of times today, picking the woman that picks you.
Yeah.
What does that mean specifically? And what is it? How do you know when a woman has picked you? Is this an explicit, hey, I like your vibe, I want to be with you?
Yeah.
Because I haven't had many, I end up in exclusive relationships, but I don't typically have the exclusive relationship conversation. Like it just kind of gets to that point
Yeah.
somehow. So I'm wondering if I'm either not picking the woman that picks me or I'm just kind of falling into it. But what is what are the signs, I guess, when a woman has picked you?
It should be like taking a frying pan to the forehead. It should be pretty obvious, right? I mean, like a woman that's chosen you, she'll take the initiative to do things in your life, to improve it. When you get up in the morning, she'll make the bed for you. If she sees a pile of laundry around, she'll put it in the machine and start doing it for you. She'll clean up your house. Hey, I'm coming over in about an hour and a half, Robert. Be naked when I get there, and and is there a wine that you want me to bring over? Sort of thing. It's usually pretty obvious. Like guys will know when a woman chooses them, right? Like it's pretty clear.
Yeah, okay. And then I usually end up dating like these kind of type A women.
Type A women. What is that?
When I say type A, they're like very
Oh,
independent.
type A.
Yeah, sorry, type A as opposed to type B. So very independent,
Yeah.
usually very ambitious in whatever they're doing, their job or whatever their activity is. Um, Usually very responsible, like almost hyper responsible.
Yeah.
These are actually things I appreciate because I'm that way too. I'm very independent. Like I go and do my own thing. I don't need a lot of emotional support or hand holding through life. I like to just go do my own thing. And so it seems like it's worked out where I've dated a woman that does something similar. And then when we come back together at night, like it's all good.
Mm-hmm.
But when you just now described what it's like when they pick you, like I don't know that I've seen those signs in them as much because they're usually about their business or whatever their thing is. Um, is there another way to approach that? Like, you obviously can't ask a woman like, "Hey, did you pick me?" Uh, if it's not as obvious as a frying pan to the forehead, I guess are there more subtle indications for women that might not be doing or other things?
No, genuine burning desire looks like that. But I mean, if you're also dating boss girls, which is basically what you're describing, they're generally not the type that are that feminine. They're more masculine, because they've been told to chase degrees, climb the corporate ladder, frame those degrees in mahogany. They have to have little letters after the name, signifying the importance. So that's they have essentially been told to behave and become like men. And let me ask you a question. Do you find these women exhausting sometime, these boss girls?
Well, I find all women exhausting sometimes. What would be if anything, and I have dated the opposite, right? The women that are very dependent, irresponsible, want to be with you all the time. And like that really doesn't work for me because I'm very independent, like a lot of solitude, etc.
Yeah.
So I've dated the opposite, and that's worse. But the complaint I would have about the type A is that they might be just a little too, sometimes I'm like, oh, we got some time together. Let's spend, they're like, no, I got to go do the thing and run errands or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, that kind of comes with the territory. But when you say exhausting, do you mean like her personality is wearing me out, or what do you mean?
Well, behaving in a masculine sort of way, right? I'll give you an example. Like the realtor is a good example of the type A boss girl sort of date. I was out on a date once and we met for sushi. And you know how realtors are. I mean, if their client calls, they usually jump. And when the client says something, she's responding with, well, how high should I jump? So I'm on a date with her. She's very attractive, having a great conversation. Boss girl, power suit, drives a nice BMW sort of SUV. Gets a phone call or a text, and she looks at me. She goes, "I've got to go. I've got to show out a house. I've got this client that is probably going to buy it." I thought to myself, well, that's interesting. So we're sitting here, we're eating, we're on a date, but you're going to bounce because you want to go and do this, whatever. And then, she said to me, well, you should come along for the ride, sort of thing. Like it'll only be a few minutes because you just have to show the house, right? It's just, 5 or 10 minutes away. That's the sort of thing that you tend to get with like these boss girls, right? Is like they will make their career, their job, the absolute priority, and it's not you that matters. And if you want a family, if you want a girlfriend even, You want a woman that's a complement to your life, that, that would say to you, well, Robert, what can I do to make myself useful today? Like, I know that you're out there chasing excellence, you're doing your thing, you're building your audience, doing whatever. How can I help? And to me, I mean, I'm a little bit older than you, but to me, that's a lot more attractive than the girl that's got the degrees. Like, my ex-wife's a lawyer, right? So I've dated lots of boss girls, accountants, entrepreneurs, all that stuff. And after a while, I think once you've dated enough of them, and yeah, they're successful and they got a cool house too, and they drive a nice car as well, and they've got money to take care of things. They don't usually beg you for anything or any of that stuff. But the whole rah sort of stuff gets a little bit tiring. It's only okay, I find, when they can submit when they're in your frame, like when you're with them, right? So in the bedroom, for example, they completely, submit to you, like they're not a boss bitch in that type of situation. When you're making plans for something like, hey, let's go out and get something to eat. It's not you sitting there going, well, where do you want to go? Well, I don't know. Well, where do you want to go? And you're kind of sitting there, it's like, no, put on the black dress that I like. I'm taking you over to the sushi place and we're going in 5 minutes. Yeah. Sort of thing. Like, it's okay when she complies, to my frame, but I find that a lot of them, they have some difficulty with that. It's, they have a mindset of, oh, well, I got this, or I can take care of things, or I don't need you, sort of thing. And I think at the end of the day, one of the problems, that I find with a lot of these boss girls is they've got really high notch counts, right? They don't preserve their value. And because they tend to adopt masculine traits and chase excellence and climb the corporate ladder and all this stuff, they tend to act a lot like men. So they're very promiscuous. And a woman that's laid with a lot of men in her past doesn't make a great girlfriend, because usually what ends up happening is if something doesn't go her way or it's not working out, she's not very sticky in the relationship. It's like, if she's already been with 51 guys and you're number 52, she doesn't care. She'll just move on to number 53. She's already done it 51 times, right? So she's not that committed to the relationship or you. So type A's, like, I found a place in my 20s and my 30s where I was sold this narrative, like, men and women are equal and we'll be the twin towers together. And we'll, challenge life, together, go forth and be a force of awesomeness, sort of thing. But I think you find after a while, if you've dated, somebody like that, or even been married to them, it's pretty exhausting. And they usually end up at some point trying to run your life.
Yeah. And I've seen the relationship usually ends up, if there is a power boss girl, I guess as you would say, that she ends up with not a boss guy. Like, the guy kind of fills a beta.
Usually she has to settle for that guy because there's a lot of this going on with, the boss girls. And interestingly, there's a really good book called The Birth Order Book. I think Dr. Kevin Lehman is the author's name. And he breaks down the personality types and archetypes of firstborn, second, thirdborns, and a sort of thing. And like, the vast majority of these boss girls out there, they're almost always a firstborn, right? Because they had to lead the siblings in the family. They were always the ones testing the parents. The parents were testing their skills on them. So it's not that, it's not like they're bad people or anything like that. It's just, generally speaking, unless she can submit to your frame, and if you're a leader, then you're probably going to have some difficulty dealing with her on a long-term basis. It's just not fun, if I can put it that way.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I heard recently that one of the greatest gifts masculine energy, or a man can give a woman, or feminine energy, is the ability to just turn off her brain. So like, the man can step in, be the leader, like you said, put on the black dress or going to the sushi place. And like, women actually long for that. And so that was interesting, because as a man, we process information differently. You're like, oh, well, like, should we look at the options together and think about this? Yeah.
It's interesting because when you enter a strong masculine frame, yourself, you start to behave a lot differently. Like, I even noticed myself a few years ago, like, if I'd be walking down the street with my girlfriend, you're holding hands, you're sort of doing your thing. I sometimes found myself with her on the outside of the sidewalk and me on the inside. And I inherently know that, if I'm going to lead in this relationship and she's going to follow and happily, want to do that, I need to protect her. Like, I need to be able to do that. So I have to stand on the outside. So I'll just move her over and I'll switch sides. And she knows exactly what I'm doing, and she likes that. Right. Like, there's always a lot of pushback when you have these conversations, these traditional sort of like, relationship sort of mechanisms that make them work better. But the truth of the matter is, they work better. I'm in a great relationship. Look, I mean, I'm a little bit older. I'm a seasoned gentleman. You know, I've been married, divorced. I've had lots of long-term relationships, dated, all that good stuff. Um, I wish I could have figured this out in my 20s. Like life would have been a lot better. I wouldn't have made some stupid mistakes for sure.
Yeah.
I really hope you guys enjoyed that clip. If you want to watch the full-length podcast, you can find that over here, that clip's from. If you're newer to the channel, make sure you hit subscribe over here, and pin down below in the top comment, you'll find a bunch of useful links to my website, my supplement line, books, and a bunch of other stuff. Have an amazing day. Peace out.
All right. Good morning. Welcome to the 89th installment of the Play and Win podcast series. Tony Huge joins me today. What is up, my friend?
Whoa, Rich Cooper in the flesh there. Well, good to see you. Good to talk to you on a podcast for the first time. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I've seen quite a few of your videos over the past few years. Love the conversations that you've had. You're clearly very knowledgeable on the topics that you discuss, which is usually around bodybuilding, biohacking, peptides, performance enhancing drugs, all that good stuff. You live in Thailand. So what time is it over there? It's got to be late at night.
9 p.m.
9 p.m. Cool. So